All right, welcome back to the channel, to my ramblings. If you're new to the channel, the reason why I call my videos ramblings because there's no structure to them. I basically think of a video title of something I want to talk about and then I make it. So I'm just rambling. There's no structure. Hopefully it doesn't come off too horribly. All right, so Last of Us Part 1. The title of this video is Why The Last of Us Part 2 Forces You to Be a Bad Person and a Hypocrite. A lot of people anyway. Now, The Last of Us Part 1. Joel loses his daughter right here, and it's an extremely heart-wrenching episode to a point where you're on Joel's side no matter what. You have so much empathy and sympathy for this guy to a point where 20 years later you find out through little tidbits of dialogue. Let's see if I can find them. But little tidbits of dialogue that he, in these past 20 years, understandably, but still, in these last 20 years, hasn't become a good person. He did some hunting in his days. Fucking ads. He did some hunting in his days for his own survival, which is understandable. But if you feel like the world of The Last of Us Part 1 is a shitty place because it's plagued by hunters, Joel was one of those hunters at one point in time before he became a smuggler. He was killing and stealing and killing innocent people for his own survival to a point where his own brother left him. As Tommy says later on in the game, he has nothing but nightmares from those days of being with Joel. Here we go.
Doesn't mean nothing. Now, I wouldn't have believed it neither, but I can show you some cause.
My cause is my family now. You ain't talking about some walk in the park here.
Jesus, boy. Have Maria get some of your born-again friends to do it.
They got families too.
Tommy, I need this.
You want some gear? Sure. But I ain't taking that girl off your hands.
This is how you gonna repay me, huh?
Repay you?
For all those goddamn years I took care of us.
Took care. That's what you call it? I got nothing but nightmares from those years.
You survived because of me.
It wasn't worth it.
Right there. Joel was this game subtly gives you hints. This is not so subtle, but it gave you a hint earlier saying that Joel was not a good person. Now he's like, you could say, hey, it's a post-apocalyptic fucking wasteland. What do you expect? Survival of the fittest, blah, blah, blah. But in this world, we still have people like Sam and Henry. You still have children growing up like Ellie and her friend. There's still innocence in this world. You don't have to become a brutal murderer. Case in point, Tommy here went off and started a civilization of good people taking care of each other. You know? But this incident that we all experience with Joel and this extreme trauma, you're just on the guy's side the whole time. No matter what you hear, you're like, fuck. I even seen videos, comment sections on the video between Tommy and Joel in that scene I just showed you. It was like, oh, Tommy is such a brat. I'm like, what? Tommy? How? It's the connection that we have to Joel. And it's just ridiculous to a point. And on to the point of the video is why it forces you to become a hypocrite is because by the end of Last of Us 2, by the end of the story, Abby's story is basically story for part 1. She's trying to save this kid, and that's her number one goal. When you cut her down from that, she immediately goes for Lev, and she's trying to get him to safety. If you still want to kill Abby by the end of this story, you're basically what Abby was at the beginning of the story. So if you still want Ellie to kill Abby by the end, you're a hypocrite. It forces you to be the game for a lot of people anyway. There's a lot of other people that didn't want Abby to die by the end. But a lot of people did want Ellie to kill Abby. And if you did, the game was like, hey, you're a hypocrite, buddy. Because Abby's story is basically Joel's story from part 1, trying to save this kid here. And say she did kill Abby, Lev will probably die. The miracle that he survives, it would just be the cycle again. Come looking for Ellie to kill, and then do you root for Lev? Are you still on Ellie's side? Are you a hypocrite, or do you keep that same energy? But I don't keep this video too long. This is a rambling, no structure to it. Peace.